Hey there, friends. How's it going? So we're going to be looking at alternating bass notes in the key of G in this lesson, okay? And specifically, I'm talking about strumming, where you have some bass note strumming, right? Using bass note or whatever chord you're playing. But when we play those bass notes, we're going to alternate between usually the root note of whatever chord we're playing and some other note in that chord. So that would turn a regular G, right, into this, where the bass note is sort of jumping, right? And we could do it in our C chord, and we could do it in our D chord, add a little walk up, and you can do it in every chord of the key of G, and that's what I'm going to show you here. So let me zoom on in here. I'll show you some exercises and the lay of the land for the most common chords. And a little bit later, I will show you some example exercises you can do with tabs, and I have a printout available as well. Head on over to my website to get these. These are available, the zoomed in version of these exercises and the printout if you want to follow along. But let me just show you the basics for now, okay? So let me zoom in here with my fancy technology. Okay, so key of G. Let me scroll down and look at what we're talking about. So just lay of the land, we're going to be looking at the G major chord, the C major chord. I'm going to show you D, and I'll also show you this sort of specialty voicing of this D7 over F sharp. Don't be scared by the fancy name. This is a very common chord we use in Travis picking. I want to talk about that. Then we have some minor chords, our E minor and our A minor and our B minor. These are very, very rarely used, but I want to tackle them as well. But really quick, let's look at this G to get started with here. Okay, so G is our home bass. Whenever we're in the key of G, G major is our tonic chord. That's our one chord, right? So the idea here, if you look at this left version, the idea is if we put our hand in a G major shape, and you could use whatever voicing you want, right? I like to do it like this usually. See those circled golden highlighted notes? Those are going to represent the notes that we're going to be bouncing between, our bass notes, right? So if that left version, we're going from the 3rd fret on the low E string, and we do a strum, right? A light strum, and then the 4th string open. And then we would bounce back and forth, right? So 6th string, 4th string, 6th string, 4th string. And notice that both of those notes, those highlighted circled notes, those are in the G major chord, right? You can see those as part of the normal 6th string G major voicing here. But the idea is we're just going to bounce between those two notes in this case. Now, if you're curious, this is a G. This note is a G, right? The bass note of any chord, the root note, has the same name as the chord itself. Like this is a G. This note right here, this open 4th string, it's a D. I say this because this is the 5th degree, or it's a perfect 5th away from G, right? Or you could say it's the 5th degree of the G major scale, right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And I say this really quick because usually, not always, but usually, when you're doing these alternating bass notes, you're going to hop between the root note and the 5th. That just sounds really good when you're doing this, right? It complements each other well, and that's what we're going to be doing here. So, bass note, strum, bass note, strum, bass note, strum, bass note, strum. Okay, now those strums, I'm not doing all 6 strings. You could if you want to. I like to just do the thinnest 3 or 4 strings usually, right? It creates this nice contrast against the bass note. Another thing is these strums, you could technically do more, you could do more strums. I could do a bass down up, 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 bass down up. Or I could do a bass down, bass up, down up, bass down, bass up, down. I'm a little bit of a stumble there. But my point is that you can bring your own strumming pattern. That's actually something I have on my page 2 of my song sheet here, my PDF for this lesson, is talking about how you can take any of these strumming patterns, right? And you could basically just, as long as your bass notes are repeating. So look at these top 2 examples, right? This left one, it's just going to be a bass down, bass down, bass down, bass down. Right? But if you look at this right one, it's going to be a bass down, bass up, down, a bass down, bass up, down, a bass down, bass up, down, up. I missed the bass note there. It's down, bass up, down, a bass down, bass up, down, up. So my point in showing you this is you can bring any strumming pattern you want as long as the bass note repeats, right? Look at that bottom right example. That's in 6/8 time, right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay, so lots of options there. You even could do a longer strum pattern. Like this one is going to be a bass down, up, bass down, up, down, up. So it's still alternating bass notes, right? even though it's a longer strum. And I could switch to a different chord, like my C chord. Okay. So that's a quick note about strumming patterns there, but let's look back at our G. And I showed you this one where we're going from 6th to 4th string. We also sometimes, though, might go from 6th to 5th string. Right? 6th string to 5th string, 6th string to 5th string. Now this is going to require a lot of aim with your pick, and that's one of the trickiest parts about learning this technique, is getting that pick aim to be dead on when it comes to hitting the right chord, okay? But those are two examples you might run into for the G chord. Let's look at C next really quick, okay? So there's two common ones you're going to hit with C quite a bit. Okay, the first one is going to be going from this 5th string, this is the root note, down to the 6th string, also on the 3rd fret, right? So 5th string, strum, 6th string, strum. Okay? All you're doing is just moving your left ring finger from 5th string to 6th string, but it's staying on the 3rd fret, okay? And when you play the 6th string note, it's okay if this finger is lightly touching the 5th string. And in effect, that's good because it's going to mute the sound, right? So it's 5th to 6th, to 5th to 6th. Now, another thing you might run into with the C chord is going from 5th to 4th. All right, that's the version I have on the right here. And a little bit later in one of my exercises, I'm going to show you how you could actually combine these two together, right? You can go from 5 to 4 to 6 to 4 to 5 to 4 to 6 to 4. If I did that pretty quick, it would be... Okay, that's a bit more of a hectic advanced thing, but just know that you can combine these and do kind of interesting things. But when you're just getting started, take it slow. 5 to 6, 5 to 6. Just do a single brushy strum in between, right? And you'll be in good shape. Now, there's also this D chord. This is a big one I want to show you here. The D is pretty straightforward. Look at the left version here. We're going from this 4th string to 5th string, 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 right? It's typically the only alternating bass note we're going to see when we're using a regular D major like this. We don't really want to go to that 3rd string. You could, but that's getting really high in the sort of register or the pitch or whatever, when most of the time with our alternating bass notes we're on the thickest couple strings here. There is one you're going to run into occasionally when we go from this D7 over F sharp voicing. You use this a lot in Travis picking, right? Okay, the main idea here is we're going from 6 to 4. Okay, your middle finger is on the low E string, 2nd fret, and then you have these up here, whoops, for the rest of the chord. You're not really ever going to strum this one with a pick for the most part. There are exceptions to that, but just letting you know that sometimes if you do have a D over F sharp, you can make use of that low E string. But most of the time, you're not going to run into that, especially when you're doing basic strumming stuff. Now, as far as the E minor and the A minor and the B minor, I'm just going to touch on the E minor really quick because of the remaining chords, these ones aren't really used that much and they're pretty straightforward. But the E minor here, right, 6th string chord, going from 6th to 5th, 6th to 5th. That's one we can do. We also could do, though, 6th to 4th. Okay, and of course, you also could start on the 4th string and go from 4th to 5th. This is probably a bit more rare. But I'll say this, when you're in the key of when you're in the key of G minor, anytime you're playing it, rewind. Whenever you're playing G major, in the key of G major, and we run into an E minor, this is an E and this is an E, right? The 6th string and the 4th string. So effectively starting on any of those can be okay. You could go from 6 to 5, or you could go from 6 to 4. This is going from E to E with our bass notes. Or you could get fancy and go like from 6 to 4 to 5 to 4, 6 to 4 to 5 to 4, Okay, those are a bunch of examples you can do, but these are two good ones to get you started with there. Okay, so let me show you a few different ways to approach this, just looking at one of these exercises, and then I can show you a bit more over on my website here. So this first exercise, okay, what I would recommend doing is just getting comfortable with each of these on its own, okay, and then repeat it. So for example, let's go to this G. 6 to 4 and 6 to 4. If you miss the bass note, it's okay. Keep going. Slow down maybe until you get into a nice groove, and you can do it consistently. Then maybe switch. So here we're going to the C. I'm going to repeat it maybe 4 times, maybe 8 times. Then going to D next will sound good. 4 to 5, 4th string to 5th string. And then back to G, and it resets, okay? And this is a great thing to practice when you're just getting started, is you're just taking one chord at a time, repeat it as you need to, right, before you move on to the next one, okay? If you want to get adventurous, you could, for example, take that C, and instead of going from 5 to 4 and 5 to 4, you could go from 5 to 6 and 5 to 6 and 5 to 6 and 5 to 6. Okay, so let's do the whole thing. I'm going to do every chord twice, but for that C, I'm going to go from 5 to 6. Okay, so starting with G. 1, 2, ready, go. G, da, da. Do it 4 times each, 4 times. Get ready to go to C, and da, da. 2 more times, da, da, da. Then to D, da, da, bum, bum. 1 more time, and then we're going down to G. Yeah, 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 yeah. And you get the idea, okay? You could repeat it from there. Okay, so those are the sort of lay of the land as far as the building blocks. Now, there's all kinds of ways you could combine these. I'm going to play through a bit just really quickly, but head on over to my website to get zoomed in videos of these where you will see them put to use. And I have the tabs on the screen, and I also have this PDF available for you. This is 4 pages. And it has all these written up for you. They're really nicely formatted and everything. You get everything you need to follow along with. And this will just give you the lay of the land. Any of these alternating bass notes you're going to run into in the key of G, these are going to cover a lot of them, right? Here's an example of something I'm talking about we could do. We could use hammer-ons, for example, right? Okay, I'm just going from G to C there, right? And I'm using 5th to 6th string, or 6 to 5 to 6 to 5, 6 to 5 on your key of G, on your G major. And for C, I'm going from 5 to 4 to 5 to 4, 5, 4. But whenever I go to that 2nd string, that 2nd bass note in each chord, I'm doing the hammer-on. So see exercise 3 on my PDF for that one. We could also incorporate like walk-ups and walk-downs into these. Here's one I have on my in my PDF here. Check out, listen for these walk-downs. I'll repeat it. Okay, so lots of little things like that you can add to these. It's just a really powerful sort of technique you can use across the board. You also can do this in other keys, but of course you'll have to learn the alternating bass notes for those certain chords. But if you're in the key of G, you're using your G, your C, your D, maybe your E minor now and then. Those are the main common character chords in the key of G. That's what you'll want to use. So I hope you all found this helpful. Again, check out the lesson on my website. The link's in the description here for zoomed in examples of all these exercises where it shows you with the tab, slow playthrough of each one, and of course the printout has them all written up for you. So this is a technique you learn once, you can use it in so many places. It's a big deal, really worth learning. All right, so thanks all for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Take care, and bye-bye.